Hey everyone, it's Rahana. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue for more stories and updates on my journey with invasive ductal carcinoma. Um, so there has to be some backstory before I share this one. So the backstory is that I have a landlord who's been who kind of took over from her dad. Her dad passed away some years ago, and so she took over. Her name is Mary Lou. And Mary Lou is in her mid 50s, close to 60s, and she's kind of taken over the running of the building. And she's been really supportive through especially the last few months of my life. I've been facing a number of different challenges that are not health related, and she's been able to hold space for me and really support me and kind of help me out. So Mary Lou actually had cancer during the course of the years since she was young, back and forth, in and out of the hospital, getting better and then getting cancer back. But anyhow, when my bleeding started from my breast, I went to speak to Mary Lou at her apartment, and I let her know what was going on. Now, by profession, Mary Lou is a nurse, retired, and so when I told her about my bleeding from my breast, she was a little concerned, and she said that I need to go and check it out. And especially given that she's a nurse and she's had her own journey with cancer, this is something that, I felt really supported by her and just getting good advice. So when I was following up, I would kind of let her know what's going on. Now, a few weeks ago, she was really unwell, and I heard that she'd gotten so bad and she was in the hospital. Eventually, they decided that it was time that she needed to go to hospice. And I learned about 2 weeks ago that Mary Lou passed away. So she's in my heart and she's in my thoughts and in my prayers always. Still kind of feel just completely shocked by how quickly everything happened. But anyhow, so that's happened over the past few weeks. And so this second appointment that I had to go in for, was a biopsy. And I was really nervous about the whole procedure of a biopsy. I did some research looking at like what would they be doing. And so there's just the fact that I was aware that they would probably be jabbing a needle into my breast, and I hate to use the word jabbing. I'll say inserting. It's a lot more of a softer word. So they would be inserting um, a needle in my breast to take samples because the mammogram results from the previous visit that I had showed some calcifications in my breast. And so what they wanted to do was do a biopsy and kind of look at the calcifications a little closer. So as I go in and I'm waiting, and I've had this beautiful experience with the girl last time in the waiting room, and the friendship with God and all of that. These are all signs for me and experiences for me that I know keep me going, keep me having a positive mindset, knowing and believing that God is with me and I'm fully protected by angels. So these are very important for me. So this time round, I was curious about what might divinely unfold. What sign may God show up with to show me that I'm being protected? So I'm sitting in the waiting room this time, and I get called in to get inside and put the gown on and all of that stuff again. So a nurse calls me out, "Hey, Farhana Kassam," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And so I walk in, and she shows me where to get the gown and all of that. And just before she leaves me in the room to get changed, she said, "Yeah," and she's like, "I'm the nurse," and she goes, "My name's Mary Lou." And in that moment, I was so shocked. Um, to know that her name was Mary Lou for me signified that Mary Lou is my guardian angel, and the fact that she was in her lifetime a nurse from Parkland Hospital who's worked in the oncology department, and now I'm at the breast clinic doing all these tests to see if I have cancer, and the nurse's name is Mary Lou, was such a divine sign for me. Such a beautiful connection that she is with me and she's always with me. And so I closed the door and started to change, but I had to call my mama up and literally burst into tears because I wanted my mom to know that Mary Lou was with me. I also told my mom to let Mary Lou's aunt know that this experience had happened, because it was just so special and meaningful to me. Anyway, I get out of there, of the room that I was changing in, and I waited to be called into the biopsy room. So I was sitting there, and another nurse comes along and she calls me in, and I immediately wanted to speak to Mary Lou and ask uh, and tell her about this experience and why her presence and her introduction for me was so important and special. So when I asked this nurse, "Where is Mary Lou?" she said, "Well, she's going to be in the biopsy room the whole time. She's going to be carrying out the procedure with the doctor." So for me, that was a sign that Mary Lou was with me and was going to be with me throughout the procedure. That was very, very comforting to know. When I walked into the room and I saw the nurse Mary Lou in there, I told her I had to share a story with her, and I'm going to try and do it without crying. And of course, there was not even a moment that I could hold back my tears, and so I actually did start crying again. And I told her the whole story, and I told her why her presence in my life was such a blessing. Um, while I was crying, she handed me a box of tissues, and the tissue box said "big hugs" on it. And so that was really beautiful, and it felt like Mary Lou was giving me a big hug in that moment. Again, guys, you know what? These are all things that have happened. They're factual things. Uh, what I make of them is my choice. What I interpret from them is my choice. And what I choose to make of them, the story and how I tell it and how I receive these experiences, is that God is constantly with me and God is constantly with all of you. And whether you call that divine expression God or spirit or you know Jesus or Allah or whatever name you call it, to me it's just the name is just another divine expression of just one singular one entity, one thing. That one thing is everything that exists. We are divine expressions of all of that. um, and it's just beautiful to be able to experience it. The way I do it is with openness, and I do it with curiosity, and I do it knowing that it's there. And as long as I stay open and curious, as long as I come from a place of love and I ground myself in love, the only thing that there is to receive in our experiences of life is love. And all of this that's showing up, everything that's coming up, is love. And if you go about your day just being curious, I promise you that you will find the signs to show you that you truly have a friendship with God, that you truly are not separated from anything that is holy and beautiful and divine and love, because you cannot be, because you are that. And what I want my videos to do is to not only share with you my experiences with my diagnosis, but um, I want you to be, I want you to see, or I invite you to see, that's a better word. I want to invite you to see what are the grand possibilities of life, even when things get really hard, or when we feel stuck, or when we feel afraid, or when we get some bad news, or we see something as bad news or horrifying or whatever. It's an open invitation as I give to myself, and I have a choice to invite myself to see things as whether things are going to happen against me to destroy me, or whether they're happening for me to uplift me, to help me grow more spiritually and come to know myself as the expression of everything that is. So continue watching the videos if you're enjoying them. Stay open, stay curious. Please know this is an open invitation. You can make whatever you want of these videos, but it is my hope and my prayer that whatever you receive from these videos will give you hope and inspiration in your life. It will motivate you to, live your life in a way that is filled with love. And especially in times of crisis, and we're all going through crisis in the world right now with COVID and with job losses and with unemployment and with people getting sick from other illnesses. There's a lot that we can get bogged down about that's negative and scary. But if you open your eyes and stay open and accept the invitation, there is so much that you can see that is just absolutely magical and miraculous. So I hope that you find miracles in this video just as I have, and that opens you up to become curious about the miracles that are actually occurring in your life. Thanks so much for watching, and stay blessed.